Welcome to the Stronger Together podcast, brought to you by Sandpoint Strength and Conditioning. Today, I am joined again by Ammi Midstock. We talk about supplements. We talk about, alternative biohacking behaviors, and just kind of give our professional opinions on such things. We go a lot of different directions. We do swear a little bit. We are a little inappropriate, and we go a little off the rails. So, as usual, this one comes with a special disclaimer. We are also not doctors. I don't think we bridge or go too far into that realm and we are not giving any sort of medical advice. But just to be clear, if you didn't know, neither of us are doctors. And if you are surprised by that, then I don't know what to tell you. All right. Hope you enjoy. All right. We're back. Kenny and Ammi. We still haven't come up with a good, we need a good tagline for this. A duo, some duo tagline that we can lead in with.
Yeah. I think we could come up with something pretty spicy. It might take a cocktail, though.
Yeah. We probably shouldn't brainstorm. We probably shouldn't open with our brainstorming on that.
Yeah.
I'm sure most of our things, the problem with it would be that it would be too much, too inappropriate.
Yep. So I have been working on swearing less, although I'm not exactly sure why.
Do you feel like you're just giving yourself a small brain tumor? Like you're just storing swear words in there? Some tumor?
And they'll come out at some inopportune time. Yes.
But you'll feel a tremendous sense of relief.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I just hope it's well aimed, like somebody deserving,
Yeah. I mean, I feel the same. I go vastly. I usually have a pretty inappropriate amount of swear words that I use. And then every so often I'm like, you probably shouldn't have said that in front of that person. Like, you're probably a little loose with this and that. And then we're reining it back in. And so I play the same game sometimes. I get it.
I get it on the trail because, I live on the trail system. So I'll be out there with all kinds of people that I just consider friendlies. And it could be like a Bible study group, which has happened to me. And I will be, talking about the trails, and then I'll talk about conservation, and an F-bomb will get in there, and you'll see these little old ladies like, oh.
Guess who's getting prayed for tonight? Yep. No, same. And it's like meeting new people at the gym. Then suddenly I think back, that was probably not what they were expecting, but whatever. You probably should just get to know that right away, or you'll be disappointed later.
Exactly. Or it's not, they're not in the right space.
Yeah.
Not in the right space.
All right, we wanted to talk about supplements. We posted it, or I did. I posted a very last minute, hey, what do you guys want to talk about? And my massive following of 950 people didn't contribute anything to the conversation. So here we are. We're going to talk about supplements. We're going to talk, or we didn't really come up with a good term for this because thought about it just now. But
biohacking, because I was thinking about Ben Greenfield.
You see his houses for sale? Is that what brought it up?
No. Does he have a house here or in Spokane?
Spokane, yeah.
Yeah. Where is he going to move to?
Don't know. I just thought it was for sale. But it has all these types of things that you're probably going to want to talk to. Like there's all the whatever, red lights and lights. All the lights.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure he's got a float tank and probably like an IV station and...
Yeah. So that's the kind of topic, like vitamins, supplements, hormones, peptides, sauna, cold plunge. Some of the stuff by the way, have no qualifications from which to speak from. So other than, I guess I have qualifications, but I have no background.
Yeah. Our unqualified conversation is probably going to be the best.
Yes.
The best.
Agreed.
So
Opinions
from
of
two non-medical professionals, let's tell you guys what we think.
But it is true. I mean, having been in it for you and me still in it, that is this industry. It is a new thing every 3 days that is all the rage. Turns out it's actually not that cool, or doesn't actually do what it said, or maybe is way worse for you than you could have ever imagined. Way more expensive when you're really just stepping over dollars to pick up dimes, when the basics are what are going to get you 90% of what you want. Everyone's focused on these other shiny objects. So that's probably going to be the perspective I take for almost everything we're going to talk about, is that if you're not doing these basic things first, don't bother with the others. But there is some stuff that I think would be worthwhile to explore. How do you come at that? I consider myself a skeptic and a slow adopter in almost everything.
Wow, that's a very diplomatic way to see yourself. Skeptic. Is still quite gentle.
Yeah, for what I just said?
Yeah, I mean, I would probably add swear words.
Oh, yeah.
I think I'm a skeptic too, and I also love being a guinea pig. So I'll try almost anything just to be, I haven't hit the heroin, but I've had morphine. So I pretty much know what's going to happen.
Totally. Yeah.
But
I thought you were
I'll
going to say like a
try.
caffeine colonic or something. I was like, all right, let's.
Yes, colonics. I think it came from my background as a nutritionist and needing to have some sort of like sense of what I was going to ask my patients to do.
Yeah,
So, do you
totally.
remember that time you did the master cleanse and you lived on like
Oh,
maple
yeah.
syrup and
Yep.
lemon?
100%. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think it's very much like that. It's not so much that one is seeking, well, as a practitioner, that one is seeking the benefits, as much as I wanted to understand the sociological, cultural, physiological challenges that would come along with something, and the pros and the cons. So maybe I don't take a lot of vitamins, but I want to know what it means to ask somebody to take vitamins 3 times a day. And it's not easy. Those things aren't easy. And food plans can be even harder. Like, what's it like to weigh our food or to eliminate gluten and dairy or eggs? God, that's the worst one. If you can't eat eggs, you might as just, well, roll over and die.
Yes. And I'm with you in that capacity. I think the self-experimentation for somebody who for the person that has the right perspective on it is, I think it's a good, useful tool. I think my issue becomes the person who doesn't go to the gym, eats like shit, but gets a fucking cold plunge. And like, what do you do? Like, knock it off. It has nothing, like, you are going to the tip of the very top of the pyramid of all the foundational things, or way above all the foundational things that are actually going to elicit change in your life. Don't start there. If you're not exercising 3 or 4 times a week and you're not eating very well, like, I don't know. That's probably step number one.
Read something today that I actually wrote about in my column, which was this idea that we can't always be optimal, but we can do things that are beneficial. And I think that we are caught in this like societal thing of thinking about peak performance. And by peak performance, I don't mean like being able to do ring pull-ups or something, or whatever the ring up things are. You can tell I'm a real expert. But in like, we think that we can skip all these steps by doing this like last 10%, but not that first 90%.
Right.
So that's one component of it in our culture these days, is like, oh, just take a bunch of creatine or just take peptides. But are you doing all the things around that? Or is that like all you can muster energy for? And cold plunges are like scientifically beneficial no matter what is going on for your body, pretty much. So like from a circulation perspective, resilience, I think there's some adrenal stuff there too, but I could see it would be bad for my adrenals.
That's, yes. Sorry, just to like, you were on a great roll there. And I agree. Like, that is, people are like, I feel so amazing. I do that in the morning. I'm like, well, no shit. If I came into your bedroom and blasted an air horn for you to wake up, like, you'd feel amazing after you settled. Like, you'd feel on fire. Like, you were ready to tackle the day. But it's not necessarily a positive correlation because you've shocked your nervous system into being awake. So I'm sorry, that was kind of that thing. Like, maybe that the correlation and the causation are different in those things, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's a positive. But
it's
in
like
any
when
case,
people tell you that they love getting tattoos, that they don't hurt, they feel so good afterwards, and I'm like, yeah, because you just jacked yourself up on endorphins. And it's amazing how good you feel when suffering ends.
But then you often end up craving more suffering because you're sorry. That's totally.
You're always chasing it, right? Yeah. So I feel like I don't want to discourage people who are trying to do something beneficial for themselves, but I also want to be encouraging of sort of like, how much bang are you going to get for your buck with your efforts? And I think about that a lot with, we talk about supplements and vitamins right now where people are just taking so many, but they have moved away from that to, I would say, less vitamins, which are not a lot of bang for your buck. Vitamins are very expensive, to other kinds of therapies like the peptide therapies that we're doing. And it's really fascinating to see, like, I'm very familiar with supplementation and supporting, organ health and organ systems, which to me seems like a much more holistic approach. Like, we're asking our bodies to do things that we cannot like nutritionally support. Think of marathon running. You could go and run a marathon and nutritionally support yourself through that. But training for 4 months and running, like doing that kind of volume all the time, we never did that in the history of humanity. And we certainly didn't couple it together with like TV watching.
Right.
It's like 4 hours of Breaking Bad and then 4 hours of running.
Was the Tarahumara culture? That maybe that they did. The barefoot running. Yeah.
They did.
There's the example. Yep. Okay. Other than that, which probably not a lot of listeners.
Yeah, yeah. And so I think that there I can see vitamins being really beneficial where it's like even just a multivitamin in the wintertime. I used to tell people like don't bother taking a multivitamin unless you're not able to eat well. And now I'm like most people aren't really able to eat well. And a lot of the food we eat is causing damage. It's just a lot of extra byproduct in our processed foods. So I guess like when people come and ask, and people are always talking about the vitamins and they're like, what should I be taking? You and I probably are pretty aligned. Like
Yeah.
vitamin D, if you don't eat fish, maybe some fish oil, stuff that just has for the longest time now been able to be scientifically supported.
Well,
Even
yeah.
probiotics are like, be careful.
Totally. Plus, and the question has to be, what are you trying to solve? And I think that's like of all the, again, I know I come off as a bit of a cynical asshole with some of these other things. And it's not that I'm trying to discourage people from experimenting or trying, but I think I'm more cynical and more of an asshole towards those who are selling these things as a miracle.
Mm-hmm.
And then I feel like I wear the disappointment of others on that to be like, look, you were sold that there was going to do something that it's probably not going to nearly the extent that you were. And then B, I think that they just get a lot of more bang for the buck for the basic stuff. And sorry, I went on a different side road, but what are you trying to solve or what are you trying to fix with these things? And so even with the supplementation side, most multivitamins, it's like cheap insurance, this kind of thing. It's like, hey, that's going to cost you a minimal amount of money and you'll get a decent amount of a return, but it's not much. The vitamin D, yeah, probably safe for most people up in this latitude. And other than that, like what is the problem that you're trying to fix? And is that actually a problem, or are you just taking it because Instagram told you may have these symptoms, so you should do this thing? Now here's this $300 a month supplement that you need.
$300 a month. Yeah. Even as a practitioner, I really worked on like it's so hard to take something that long, like consistently. Mm-hmm. So I would always be like, okay, we're going to do a 3-week course of something, and typically to treat a problem, or if somebody has a disease process, maybe they are deficient from long-term misuse or abuse, or they metabolize differently, and they do need to take something like a B-comp regularly. But for the most part, we've never even had in our natural lives like regular exposure to the specific dose of vitamins and minerals. We ate and operated seasonally. So it would seem to me like we could cause more damage than good by taking these consistent doses. And here we are dispensing like totally unqualified medical advice. All these nutritionists are like, oh my God.
I don't think I think that we've stayed pretty clear of that. And I also, the chorus of the voices in that realm aren't necessarily unified either. And that's where I think it gets irritating. Like, you guys are all saying different stuff. And so I think we can, I don't know. Anyways, I just wanted to defend our speculative perspectives here.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I practiced for a long time. And so that's also, it's not just speculation here. It's also experience and a fair bit of education there. So while I want people to like believe that they're taking care of themselves, and they should, I also believe in like looking at what your deficiencies are before just taking vitamins. Like I've never seen a multivitamin that didn't have an obscene amount of B12 in it. Like 20,000% of your daily dose, which you're just going to pee right out. Yeah. It's impressive, the color, but it's a total waste. And
if that's what you're going for, hey, there's also probably better ways to color your urine if you'd like.
Yeah, if you want your children to confuse your urine with Mountain Dew, here's the best way for a real good April Fool's prank. Thorn supplements. Here, this is how I get you sued.
Yep, perfect. The expressions of an intense of what, or the disclaimer. Never mind. Thought I had it.
Right.
Don't.
Yeah. So I think we should be careful about those things, but I also love that it comes, I think like from the consumer, it comes from a place of like, I want to take care of myself and I want to be better. And to your question of like, what problem is it solving? I think that people go to like, let's take fish oil, for example. And people are like, should I take fish oil? And you say, well, what problem is it solving? And they say, well, it's good for your heart. But the actual problem is that they're not eating enough fish.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So
yeah.
Do we have the capacity to change our lifestyle habits to support like robust nutrition and health? Sometimes we don't.
Right.
My friends with toddlers, like I just look at them and wonder how I survived.
Yes. Yep.
And I don't remember because I think I was drunk all those years.
Yeah. We just had my family in town, or my cousin had his 2 and 4-year-old in town, and saying it was like, I was like, oh my gosh, this is insane. How did we survive this? So yeah, totally. And yeah, you're right. I mean, I think that's, again, I don't know that I think there's a couple things that make a lot of sense as a supplementation that are probably going to accomplish a net good for you. But beyond that, like some of the other more extreme ones, holy shit, the aisles that winter it, like it's 3 aisles worth of things that you can put in your body.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's necessary.
And no, it's probably not necessary. Although I imagine that many people going there are looking for something to solve a problem.
Correct. Yep.
And I think more like the thing where I start to have a lot of judgment that I battle is when people are asking asking unnatural things of their body, like weight gainers and creatine. I have this friend who I know I can talk about on here, and she was taking like an obscene amount of creatine every day and working out like 2 or 3 times a day, and like, I'm not recovering well, and kept wondering like what vitamins should be taken or peptides or like what could she do. And of course snapped something in her leg on a box jump. It was a bad week. And it was like, you could work out less. Mm-hmm. You could not do triples. And you could think about not needing to eat 160 grams of protein a day. Like, why are we doing those things?
Yeah. Yeah.
And are we asking, I wonder what it's like for men, because from my male counterparts, I see them wanting to bulk up, but I don't understand why. Am I just naive and simple? Like, is that the same way that women want to be thin?
Probably. I think it's hard to make a statement as the only representative of the males on this podcast, but I think it is a bit of it's a seeking the traditionally heroic physique of a small waist, broad shoulders, big chest, big arms as a abject statement of masculinity, which is, they think it's it's probably something hardwired in there about a alpha trait where you're whatever in charge of other men, and you're also desirable to women, which for the most part, I've not heard that to be the case from women. They've not it's not been like, oh my gosh, the more muscles and ginormous the more muscular this person is, the more attractive they are.
I've been seeing all these t-shirt ads for like dad bods. Like dad bod is the new sexiness.
That's kind of what it's like there's, which I don't know. I'm not.
What the fuck, Kenny? All we got was high-waisted jeans. So now we all have to like open our pants when we eat, and you guys get t-shirts that make dad bods look sexy.
That's a whole other podcast. I'm not interested. That kind of pisses me off.
Work, okay.
Nobody's a fan of nobody's a fan of the style right now. I'm pretty sure. Like, I think we should all come together and be like, look, somebody made a hard left turn here. This isn't working for us, all right? We're going back to the 90s, and it's not okay. This is not looking good. Our pants now are getting flooded with water because we walk through a crosswalk, and then all of a sudden this cotton jeans soak up water all the way up to our knees, which we learned back in 1996 was not a good idea. But yeah, the dad bod that's a whole other diatribe I can go on. I'm not certain that that's the thing I want to be, as a dad, I don't want to be advertising this excess tissue that I'm saying, you know what? Fuck it. Like, I don't care. Yeah.
Well, and I think from like a health perspective of like how much visceral fat do we carry, right? We want to have a balance there, and understanding that those things can be symbols of other lifestyle habits that are not serving our health. But I'm not, neither of us are here to criticize bodies. Obviously, my body's been through all the body changes it can possibly go through.
Yeah. So I think we got sidetracked on the creatine overtraining, bulking for males.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, how we got there. So, yeah. But where were we going?
So, what else are we, what are the other things that are super trendy right now? We were talking earlier about the peptides, and you were saying you're hearing about it in the gym. Are people asking about them and buying them on the dark web?
That's actually mostly been the experience, is people like, oh, I got this thing. It's called whatever, super duper man or whatever. Wolverine's the one that I kind of was giggling about, which I chatted with somebody else on the podcast about before. But
does it come with the claws and the hair, or?
Yeah, that's what I said. I said, I wonder why I'm not taking this super seriously. Maybe if you stop calling Marvel comic names, I would think more highly of these things. But I think that it's been a mixed bag of results. There's been I've gotten a feel of other things I've seen come through this industry and say like, oh, it's been amazing. And then I kind of poke a little further and it's like, well, maybe it's not necessarily what it was cracked up to be. It's a couple $100 a month and didn't do anything. And there's also like, there's very little, I feel like we're on the tip of the spear of understanding what this is actually, the repercussions of it are. And I don't know. That's again, I'm quite under informed in here.
It's super interesting, and I'm happy to be a person who's like, I did the thing, because like I said, total guinea pig. I'm always happy to try a thing and see what happens. And so I took the 1295 peptide, but specific to an injury, and I had a good result. And what was interesting for me was like I had seen some of my patient peptides were just coming out on the dark web when I was practicing. And people were like, oh, do you know about this stuff? And people were taking them and having bad reactions. And I couldn't say if they were having bad reactions because they were just like injecting themselves with chlorine or something. You don't know what you're getting, and you don't know if anything's sterile or what other compounds are in there. And we don't have a way, to my knowledge, to test for those things. You can't exactly run peptides through your drug safe kit. If you don't have any of those yet, folks, get them before your teenagers need them.
Yes. There's going to be some good sponsors for this podcast episode.
Oh, yeah.
I'm excited.
Perfect. Yeah. So I think that, I also came in skeptical, and then I've had this like lingering hamstring injury. I tore it once. Remember, I had surgery and came in to row with a pillow at the gym, and you said, this is the only person who's ever allowed to row with a pillow. Thank you. I think we got some good pictures of me in there with like my couch cushion.
Hemorrhoids.
Yeah, pretty much. And then I retore it this summer, and we decided it would be a bad idea to operate on it because it's already been operated on once, and we don't want to like damage any tissue that still is good. And so we did PRP therapy, the protein-rich plasma, which I had already done on another injury in my shoulder, and it had worked wonders. We knew that I have a good response to the PRP. That's the therapy that's not exactly biohacking, but I guess maybe it all is. So for those who don't know, protein-rich plasma therapy is where your blood is taken, they spin it down, and they inject the thick protein-rich plasma that's at the bottom of that serum into your injury site. And in both cases, I had a visible tear in the shoulder at one point and then in the hamstring. And so in conjunction with that, my doctor said, well, there's a lot of good science out here for tissue growth with the peptides. Now, different peptides do different things. So semaglutide is also a peptide that regulates metabolism and insulin production. People have been doing some peptides for decades. Like semaglutide's been around for a long time, and other ones as well. But these new ones that are primarily used to stimulate the release of growth hormone are also synthetic, and that's what they do. And growth hormone, as we know, is a pretty sexy thing to have in our bodies, right? It's sort of like growth hormone is a bit of a youth pill, which is why people that are running all these beautification clinics that are doing semaglutide, and that there's one, I think it is called Swolverine. Have you seen those guys? They're all about beefing up and leaning out. And they're doing like, it's a med spa situation where you can combine your peptides for whatever problem you're trying to solve. And I say problem because I don't think having a normal human body is a problem.
Right. Yep.
And so while the research was there to support how the release of growth hormone can impact tissue healing, what was fascinating to me, and that's the only reason I was prescribed it, like we have evidence that having growth hormone really helps tissues recover and heal, and they're like, we don't know exactly why, but it goes to the injured places. And I was like, the bodies know what's injured. Imagine that. Bodies pretty much, we have like pain and a whole nervous system that knows there's a problem. So in some ways, I was like, it's not witchcraft. It's sort of just like trusting the science of our bodies that we don't understand yet. But when I did the research, after I'd already said yes, I found that growth hormone helps you achieve better rates of deep sleep. And let me tell you, as a perimenopausal woman, I would sell my fucking soul for a night's sleep. And so after I already started taking it, I found all these other benefits. Now I'm in a crucial phase, right? Perimenopause is, I don't know how many of your clients are in perimenopause, but I imagine a fair bit of
Yeah,
your
quite a few.
women are there or headed there or have just come out the other side. And so I felt like it did a couple of things, and I had some evidence because I'm a nerd of some of those things. So one of them was it increased my hormone production
Mm.
because I did blood tests before and then during the peptides, and that was fascinating. So my estrogen levels bumped up and my testosterone stayed the same. For men, it shows a bit, well, my testosterone's artificially high as well because I take testosterone.
Right. That's what I was going to ask.
And
Yeah.
so for all people, growth hormone can stimulate healthier hormone production, which I think for women we'll find in the studies eventually. They're not available yet, but we'll see that it sort of evens out their hormones while they're going through perimenopause, which could be a really nice way to delay HRT or
Mm-hmm.
for some people maybe not needing it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it has skin benefits because of its tissue regeneration. So people will say, you'll see in the med spa places like, oh, you have fewer wrinkles and all this stuff. And that's not a thing that I track because it's not numerical. I'm a quantitative
Totally.
kind of nerd.
Yep.
So I'm hearing people take them for other things, and I don't know. Like, there is some science, there's definitely science to support some of the use for particular problems, like what problem are you trying to solve? But to your point, I think when a thing is hot on the market, they try to solve every problem with it, kind of like when Protandim and LifeVantage was curing cancer
Oh,
in coffee.
yes. I've forgotten about that. That little thing.
Don't get me started.
I know I'm not going to. That's
There's Spears is the Scientologist. They'll be on the phone tomorrow giving you shit.
that's what I was going to say. Where the degrees of separation from that are not significant enough. And I still live in town. People can't get to your place as easily.
Yeah, yeah. That's so true.
Yeah, I think that's exactly where some of that. It's just like there's been so much, and well, so you said a lot of things that I think are very, very important that I believe are skipped in the process for other folks. Where it's you do your own research, you try and get quantitative results and understand those things. You talk to physicians, like you do take a lot of preemptive steps to ensure that you're not just trying the new thing without having, I don't know, spent the time to try and understand what you're doing. You're not just reading the back of the thing.
Is it a thing that people are planning on doing forever?
Correct.
Like,
That's also another
like,
giant.
I like the peptides. Yeah. I'm just going to take peptides forever.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and that makes me ask the question of like, even when we're dieting, we're doing things that aren't sustainable.
Right. Yeah.
Training for a race, not sustainable. Yep. And are we okay with that? Are we like, I want to play around with this and see what happens and like put that in my bag of experiences that I've had?
I had a great conversation with somebody I won't name. There was they felt guilty about chasing, like they felt guilty about trying the new shiny object, not in terms of not in terms of putting weird things in their body, not weird, but different things in their body. Just they tried this form of diet. They tried this form of exercise. They tried this, but for relatively extended periods of time, none of them were like wildly irresponsible. It was just like, I'm going to try this thing and I'm going to try this thing and I'm going to try. But I think that it's maybe hard for some people to find the line there, but I think that's a good, coming full circle to how we started our conversation. I think that's a good self-experimentation as long as you go into it with the mindset of knowing you're going to learn something and it probably won't be for the rest of your life. And you'll come back a little bit towards the middle, maybe a little bit more biased towards that thing that you just did, depending on how it made you feel.
What I hear in that story too, Kenny, is that somebody was trying, like consistently doing different things for their health.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
The thread and the middle ground there is like, you're trying to do something for your health. And some people get bored. You know me, I'm always doing some different dumb sport. My new one is swimming, hence my YMCA
Cool. Yeah.
membership.
Nice.
It is not cool. I almost drown every day. It is so embarrassing.
Yeah.
I got lapped by a pregnant lady. She was like 18 months pregnant. She basically had the entire belly of the Titanic beneath her, and she still lapped me several times.
Yeah, and again, I'm not sure that you're going to become an Olympic swimmer, but I bet you're going to come out the other side of that thing with a knowledge of swimming and a new skill and something that you can go back to. Running. Right. You and I are very divergent in our running stuff. I ran one half marathon and I'm like, okay, well, I did that once. I know what the training's like. I know how it feels. I got the runner's high one time. That was cool. I enjoyed it. And I understand that I can run. So same thing. I think I think that's a great, like you said, it's a productive, growth-minded, experimental thing to say, hey, I want to try this other thing. Let's see. I don't think there needs to be guilt in that. I mean, I wouldn't like do a bunch of math and see how productive you can be for 4 days and then come off it and just try and rebuild your life and see what happened. That's probably a little extreme, but
It's kind of like we all have such a short attention spans now. And I wonder if part of it too is that it's super rare that I see somebody be consistent in their life with like one thing. I have a friend who just completed 10 years of running every day.
Whoa.
Every day.
That's crazy.
Years. And he originally, now I'll have to send him the link to this. So he originally, I think, had planned to just try to run a mile plus for 30 days. And then he kept going. And then it just like, I think it just became a thing. Fascinating human, used to be a hot shot. So, anybody who jumps out of a fucking plane into a burning forest, running a mile every day doesn't seem like a big deal.
Was that what it was? It was a mile every day? Or was there a
minimum of a mile every day through every flu, through COVID, all travels, everything. But he also trained for marathons and all of these other things. So sometimes it was a lot more than a mile, but that was his minimum. And he's still running. Like he got to his 10-year mark and he didn't just say like, okay, I did 10 years.
I'm done running. I'm tired.
Yeah, like I hope he doesn't live forever because he's going to have to keep running. And, but it's very rare that I meet people in my, like, even in my clinical practice who could do the same thing all the time. And if they could, they probably were on the spectrum.
Yeah, sure.
So,
yeah.
People who I would say, like, you need to eat sweet potatoes, and they would, like, eat a sweet potato every single day until they saw me again. That happens. But I don't find, I find that we need, like, a little change. And maybe when we're, like, bombarded with all the marketing of the benefits of what the next new change could be, how do we resist that?
Okay, hypothetically, I don't know how to phrase this, but I bet that person, right, from all the other pre-existing, like if he ran for a mile every single day for 10 years, I'm trying to make a comparison for somebody who would like go hog wild on one thing and then take 3 months off. Like they'd just be totally divergent. And like, I bet that minimal dose of exercise every single day has put him in such a freaking tremendous state of health. And it's, say it's a 10-minute mile, which isn't flying. It's not slow. It's like, that's just kind of average. It's 10 minutes every day. You gotta lace up your shoes and you probably have to shower afterwards, but like, that's so small. But I bet he's in better shape than 95% of the country.
I imagine so. And there's something ritualistic to it that I feel like we lose as well in our culture is like, we're looking at the next best thing that we can infuse our bodies with. And to your 90% rule, like what about the daily ritual of just getting up and having a glass of water in the morning? What if we meditated for 10 minutes a day? Like how would these things benefit us differently? And we are like not simplifying. I'm listening to Walden. Have you read Walden? We all pretend we have.
Yeah, a long time ago, but not in any time recent.
It's brutal, but it's very much like simplifying. I was thinking about it because you were talking about fashion, and he's talking about fashion right now and how we always need the best, newest fashion, but we make fun of the last fashion, thinking that our fashion is going to last. And this is like, what, 150 years ago?
Yes.
Yeah.
That whole thing makes me laugh. Like we've gone on a lot of different tangents, but people like always hearkening to the days of old, like how things were so much better. Like people have been doing this for eons. Oh, things were so much simpler then. Like, yeah, well, you only lived to be like 33. You reproduced 6 or 7 times and then you were dead. Like that was it. That was not better. Yeah,
all
sorry.
Generations are always going to like ruin everying.
Right. Yeah, the kids these days with their pants. I'm already doing it.
Going to be a pneumonia epidemic that starts at the feet.
I'm at least aware of it. That's a good point, though, too. The awareness of like just knowing, okay, well, I have this perspective on that. And I think people same thing.
And I think like there's another part of our culture about trying the new greatest thing that is a bit of a reward system. We have a real hard time being kind to ourselves, so we can justify expenses that look utilitarian. And I do the same with my umpteen, gym memberships. and all the things that I'm like, well, I'll pay for this. I consider gym clothes and running shoes to be like a utility expense. And I think that some people really, especially people who are working really hard, have a hard time justifying expenses and like feel good about spending on themselves in this way without necessarily doing like asking the question, what problem am I trying to solve? Maybe the problem they're trying to solve is they need a nap and to go to bed earlier.
Yeah. Yep. Right. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's again kind of full circle on the, like, it's like, what is the outcome that you're hoping for? And is that actually the best answer to it? And that, that may not be a straight up thing. It's like you said, with people with 2-year-olds, the straight up answer is probably, yeah, you need more sleep. It's like, well, get fucked. I know that. Like, thanks,
Right.
thanks,
So
Captain Obvious.
Take all the peptides.
I'm going to get in where I can.
Price them on your toddlers.
So again, I think it's like, okay, just understand the outcome that you're looking for. Let's take a scientific approach to it and say, here are the variables that we can change to hopefully elicit that response. And here's the research that's already been done. Let's try that. And less of, I read the bottle, which, by the way, we probably should have opened with this. Like, the supplement industry, I don't know if most people know this, is like entirely unregulated. Like, you can do it, you can say whatever the hell you want and put it on a bottle and you're good to go.
You can, which is why you should get, like, if you're going to do supplements, you want to get them from reputable companies.
Yeah.
That do have quality standards. I see, like Thorne is a reputable company, even though I don't agree with their B12 components. Pure encapsulations, like I'm not trying to sponsor people here, but just give people information on good stuff. Most of the companies that are carried at Winter Ridge are pretty good. Yep. Even their less expensive brand, like Now, they usually have a good reputation. But they do sell Yogi tea, and I think that place might be a cult. I had to switch tea companies. I don't know this stuff because pretty soon I'll only be able to like grow my own herbs and make my own tea from, the tansy that's taking over my yard.
There's it out there. I think that's a good way to go. Yeah, same. We have Momentous stuff. I mean, that stuff's like third-party tested, NSF certified. And I think that's like, it's like a food, It definitely is a food for a lot of, like, for protein. Like, you could probably find cheap protein powder, whether or not that's made from, I don't know, horrible things. I can't tell you, but so
unhappy cows. Yeah. It's another testament to just trying to do what we can to like buy our foodstuffs from where we know it, like the neighbor.
Yeah. Or murder it on your own. Self-murdered food.
Right. Yeah, you kill your own meat. That's a nice one.
Yeah.
We had a bear on our porch a couple weeks ago.
I saw that. Yeah.
Oh, just to repost it? Okay.
I think Charlie did. Yeah.
Yeah. A little morning. Whew. Hey. Hi, little guy.
They're not that big, are they? I mean, that didn't look like an old bear either.
I think it was a young black bear.
Yeah, it was.
Only in North Idaho.
Like a young sow. Cool. Well,
I'm curious what vitamins you take. Like, what things do you try? Where do you get sucked in? Or do you let everybody else do it first?
No. I mean, apparently, like, I've been doing fitness stuff on myself for, 25 years. Like, with a pretty specific intent. I started in the, like, bodybuilding world. Not necessarily on purpose. That was just, like, the most accessible thing to understand and learn. Like, that was what was out there, was magazines and internet forums. And so as a young fitness athlete, like, I've always been really research hungry. So my point of that is, like, I was looking for the optimization of what I was trying to achieve from a young age. And so I tried a lot of that stuff. I can't remember what it was, but I've always kind of been brought up with the ideas of, like, protein, multivitamin, fish oil, vitamin D, zinc. And I think I've definitely tried some of the other ones too, like the mood stuff for the wintertime. But I honestly, I don't notice a significant change. Creatine, I forgot.
Do you think it's interesting because, like, also we should be talking about microdosing psilocybin.
Oh yeah.
That's the other thing everybody's doing. Do you think that sometimes people feel a difference simply through the knowledge that they're taking care of themselves? Like seasonal affect, we could spend a whole show talking about seasonal affect here in North Idaho. And I think sometimes just like patient or person saying, like, I am doing this thing to take care of myself every day, taking the vitamins, like however minimal that is, or cuddling with their Happy Light, which reminds me I need to get mine off the shelf. It's Happy Light season. That just the simple act of self-care helps them feel better.
I do. Yeah. And it's actually, I think it's similar in the vein of buy new exercise shoes or clothes or what. Like it helps the identity of somebody of self-improvement and fitness and taking care of themselves. And again, I'm pretty aware of the fact that like having the experience that I did, starting in the gym when I did, and going into the local, golly, what were they called? Supplement shop. I can't remember, but no, GNC. And there was shelves upon shelves upon shelves of shit that was like, look like this, get this strong. And then over time, like I was a pretty research hungry. Yeah, exactly. I was pretty research hungry then, and I'd come home and read about it. It was like total nonsense. Like, how is this possible? How can you sell this? And so I from a young age was skeptical, and also brought up in the era where it's like, it's either steroids or it doesn't work. And in terms of like what people were looking for aesthetically. Mm-hmm. So don't do that. These are like going to be okay. And so and by that, I mean like the supplements, multivitamin, whatever else, but they probably weren't going to achieve what was on the bottle. You aren't going to get the six-pack abs by taking Hydroxycut. You're probably just going to freaking develop a heart murmur. No. But how many people did that? How many people got on Fen-Phen and freaking Hydroxycut and whatever else and ended up with these horrible conditions?
Also, I should say, like, after I started taking the peptides and was reading about them, I saw that they are banned by anti-doping agencies.
Means it works.
Well, it probably works. And nobody told me that, and I compete. So
yeah,
for
way to go.
Me, that raised an ethical question of like, how long before competition should I discontinue taking something like this? I had to compete. And if I were to compete and I podiumed, let's say I took peptides for 3 months of a 6-month training cycle, and it boosts testosterone, it helps recovery, and I don't take them for 3 months, but I still podium. Do I take my podium spot or do I step off because I used this thing earlier in my training? So those are things like that I think that they're not talking about in certainly not on the dark web, and telling people like, if you take this thing, you're not playing a fair game. And do we care? Like if I'm not competing, do I care about that? Not necessarily.
Yeah, that's a whole other, I love this can of worms to open, because I think that everybody's cheating at the highest levels. And I don't mean that in a negative sense necessarily. I just mean that what you just described is how you have to do that at the highest level. You are not cheating the only way you're actually cheating is if you don't pass the test. Because everybody else in the professional sports world, when all this stuff came out with Balco and Barry Bonds and Sammy Sosa, all that stuff came out, like every single, and Lance Armstrong, there's been so many canaries in these coal mines that said, look, I did what I did, but so was everybody else. Like, you just caught me. You didn't catch them. And there's not nearly enough money in catching the cheaters as there is in promoting the winners. And you'll never, ever, ever outsmart the money that are promoting the winners as you will with the like government subsidy on catching the cheaters.
Mm-hmm. And I think people, for example, I don't know how long peptides have been banned or which peptides have been banned, but I think that the market of trying to find things that aren't tested for yet is far faster than the market of the testing. And we see that in other areas too, like organic farming. There are certain banned substances, but there's a lot of stuff that's not organic that they can still use to actually fertilize. It's just not on the don't list yet.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
But those poor farms have to pay a fortune to get that USDA organic stamp. And so I think that, like, I suspect that you're right, being cynical about who is not taking something. And still, I do think it raises an ethical question for ourselves. And, we're all of us who are probably listening to or participating in podcasts here are at the gym are probably relatively amateur as athletes. And, if we podium, we're as surprised as everyone else. However, should we do so if we've been taking peptides, we should make sure that it's not a banned substance, because it's just not fair.
Well, right. So again, I don't think that I have any problems with any performance enhancing drugs, like, period. That's my opinion. I think the transparency is the problem. I think the lack of transparency is the problem, which creates an environment in which expectations are too high for what is actually going to happen. Like, even so, CrossFit, like, let's take that, because I mean, every single one of those athletes is doping at some point throughout the year, whether they are informed of when they're going to test and know the half-life of the compounds that they're on, and then can come off of those compounds in order to get their test done. I don't know that for a fact, but I'm pretty certain that's what it looks like. Same with the NFL. Same with the MLB. I mean, that's how this stuff works. And again, I'm not trying to say that it shouldn't. I just wish they would tell people like, hey, they should just make it. The problem with the steroids that I was growing. Yeah, they could be selling it, but they also could be doing this much more in a safe and educated way if they would just say, hey, this is what's happening. This is a physician I'm going to. Like this is the foremost researcher on this, rather than, and I think this has changed with testosterone replacement therapy and some of these other compounds being made available in a much easier way. Before, people were going down to Mexico or ordering it from China and just being like, well, let's see what happens. I talked to this guy on the internet and he told me I should do 1,000 milligrams of testosterone a week. Woo. I don't know what could go wrong.
Right. I want to kill people all day.
Yeah. And I'm going to come off cold turkey.
My bench press.
Yeah. I'm going to come off cold turkey because I can't get my next whatever round of drugs, and that's going to be great for my everything.
You know, in my earlier days of practicing, when I had clients doing that kind of stuff on their own, it was so damaging to mental health. And they weren't, the medical field, like they might be seeing a doctor too, but the doctor could not respond to what was happening for people's mental health. Like having a patient who's going off and on peptides and off and on testosterone and potentially also steroids, like all of these things, and then having like critical crises that were hospitalizing them. Like I've seen this so many times, unfortunately. And they either couldn't share with the doctors, or the doctors couldn't really treat them because they didn't know the totality of what was going on. Or even if the patient was transparent, they didn't know that they were actually getting what they thought they were getting. And you can't rely on that patient probably they're not necessarily your most compliant patient. So to like follow a different regimen. And what I saw was a lot of like misplaced mental health issues because of like unstable consumption of these substances. Unstable.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll keep this vague enough, but the telehealth stuff, like you can get not any drug. You can get a lot of drugs for mental health, for hormones, so I had somebody who I know who was on testosterone, and their numbers, I saw the blood work. They were around 850.
Woo.
I don't remember, they're free. But in any case, the numbers that I remember were 850, which is, okay that's pretty good for a male. That's pretty high. And they just quit cold turkey. Not quit cold turkey. They were just like, yeah, I'm done with this. I don't want to do it anymore. And their next blood work they were in like the low 300s. And I was like, wow, this is a big deal. Like, how do you come to these decisions? Who do you talk to? And they're like, I didn't. Like, I just figured I was done with it. I don't need to do it anymore. I'm like, well, that's unfortunate. Like, there's probably, you're alive. That's cool. I didn't think you'd be dead, but like that was probably a rough road you put your body through without having a physician in your corner to talk you through how to do this stuff and understanding, like telling you how you're going to feel, like giving you the right course of drugs to try and come off of this effectively and stimulate their natural testosterone again. And again, they're fine, but
what to look out for.
Totally.
And I think that goes back to our earlier point about like, is it sustainable? If you aren't planning on taking this, like what's your starting thing looking like, and what is your come off plan looking like? And doctors should be having those conversations too. I never hear that when I go to the doctor unless I ask. And I have really great doctors. There's only so much they can cover in their 15 minutes,
Really sprint to their neck. Yeah, right.
Yeah. So like when people are trying to self-medicate these ways, and you can get so much stuff, like you said, you can get so much stuff, whether it's Adderall or testosterone or Wellbutrin, people are accessing these things, and they're accessing it, I would say, out of desperation. Our medical system is so challenging that even these things that are proven, we talked about it in maybe our 2 podcasts ago, that like the FDA just said, oh yeah, estrogen is safe now, but my insurance still doesn't cover it. And so people are just like at their wits' end trying to feel better, and they can't really get comprehensive care. It's more affordable theoretically for them just to go buy it online.
Yeah. Yeah, we're outpacing the traditional system, but at a cost. Both financially and internally.
So what are we telling all the people who are listening to us? Like, what do? We just listed all the problems.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I don't think that it's all problems. Like you said, you had success. I've been on different things and I've felt good from them, but I think it's just doing your research and asking all the questions that you possibly can before you put something in your body, which sounds really dramatic, but
And I would say research, people don't know how to research either. That like you Google something and the question you ask is like, are peptides good for me? So you're going to get all of the AI responses of like why peptides are good for you. Like we don't understand how to frame research questions and not get like unfiltered information back at us. And that's where it's like, who can we turn to, even just to point us like in the right direction for research? You know, people at your gym could ask you like, hey, where can I find out more about peptides? And you could say, this is a good source. I don't know if you do like a newsletter where you send people research, but
I just write an email every week about whatever's on my mind. So that's it. And do this podcast.
like
That's all.
journaling, public journaling.
Totally. Write my love letters to the world.
Perfect. That's what my column's like every week too.
Yeah. Well, that's why. Yeah. That's why we've had so many conversations about writing. It's like, all right. So yeah.
So I wonder like people, yes, doing their research, figuring out where they can get reliable research, and maybe asking deeper questions. Like, am I looking, like, what problem am I trying to solve? Is that problem like a symptom, or and if it's just a symptom of another problem, will this actually resolve that? Is it the best solution possible right now? You know, the toddler parents, I'm like, yeah, drink 4 lattes a day, whatever it takes.
Yeah. Yeah. The light at the end of the tunnel is not long in some of these things, and it's a Band-Aid, but that's okay. That's the Band-Aid you need at the moment.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to stop the bleeding. And the other thing I think is like really encouraging people to find doctors that they appreciate, who can take time to talk to them and are willing to do research. You know, if I ask I have, you know, a couple of doctors, but if I ask my primary care doctor a question that she doesn't have the answer to, she will literally go and be like, let me research that and get back to you later. And I will get an email like a day later that's like, here's what I found out. That's super rare, but we should expect that from our doctors and ask for it.
That's a great supporting point to that is you have to be your own advocate. And I say that to other business owners I talk to. I'm like, you have to be your own tax advocate. Like your accountant you can like, you're going to ask him questions. You don't want the loosest accountant in the world to be like, yeah, whatever, do whatever you want. It'll be great. You want the one who like understands the nuance, and there's definitely some hard, like you're going to go to jail if you try that. Definitely you can do this. And then here's the middle. Like, what can you explain to me about this? And the same with the health practitioner. Like, what are you trying to accomplish? Definitely you'll die if you do that. You can certainly do this. And then here's the middle ground. So yeah, I think you just got to be your own advocate across the board. And we have so much information at our fingertips now that we have the ability to be our own really strong advocates and not expecting too much pro-action out of our professionals because they just don't have the bandwidth, unfortunately. But
or
also
not
they should have
on that topic. You know, like
right.
Doctors aren't trained on nutrition.
Right. Yeah. Weird.
Sadly, it's just how it is. But
yeah. But you want that person who can go through the Socratic method on stuff and walk through what it is. So.
Yeah, or point people in the right.
Yeah, right. So that's it. I don't know. Be curious. That's a Ted Lasso thing. Be curious.
Man, I love that Ted Lasso.
I know. Be curious, but also, you know, just do your own research and try and do the best thing you can for yourself.
Yeah. And I really liked this. I feel like a lot of what we're hearing here when we're talking about our people who come to us with their questions or their issues, that the bottom line is they're all people who are trying to figure out ways to take better care of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that part is heartening. Like some of the responses that we have are maybe a little less heartening, but I hear mostly like really goodwill and intention as the baseline for all of these actions that people are taking, even though we might be like, maybe not the roids, friend. Maybe not the roids.
Yep. All right. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed that. If you have any questions, I think what Amy and I would really like is to have you guys ask us that in either person or via email. I'm Kenny at Same Point Strength. I actually don't know what Amy's is, but I can pass it along and we can start to answer those on what is becoming a bit of a regular appearance for her. So yeah, and if you want to get started at the gym, if you are not already, or if you want to just chat about how you can make your gym experience better, let me know. Kenny at SamePointStrength.com. See you next time.